Welcome to the Wood County District Public Library Ukulele Club live stream. And happy Palindrome Day. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Almost everywhere except America. Happy Palindrome Day to you. You may be wondering just what that was all about. In the USA, we just had 9 straight days of palindrome dates from January 21st to January 29th. That is 1/21/21 to 1/29/21, where the numbers are the same backward and forward. But today's date is a palindrome in other countries where the day is usually written before the month. Am I pointing in the right direction? The day is written before the month, 1/2/21. In the United States, it's 2/1/21. Almost everywhere else in the world, it's 1/2/21, a palindrome. I'm going to make sure that I can comment on the stream over here because I have information to share in a moment. Even more information to share. I'm a librarian. It's what I do. Now, if you already know the C, F, and G7 chords, or G, you can play the Palindrome Day song along with me easily enough. If not, of course, you can always still sing along, but there are other options for playing the ukulele also. If you've been with us before for other Ukulele Club live streams here at the library, or if you've seen any of our other videos online, or if you've attended any of our in-person workshops or classes or jam sessions, you'll know there are always options. With the ukulele, certainly, but this is true for other instruments as well. There's a lot of things that you can do, even if you don't exactly know which notes to play. So, for example, one of my favorite things to do when I don't know the song is just scratch the strings like this. For this particular song, because it's in the key of C, and it has these chords, you can play this string, string 4, the 4th string up from the floor, which is also a G. You can play that all the way through the song. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. If you want to be a little more adventurous, you could play this string, string 1, the A string, all the way through the song. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. It's got a little bit more of an old, of a vintage jazz kind of sound if you leave that note in. It reminds me of Mac the Knife. When the shark bites with his teeth, dear, keeps them pearly white, or however that goes. If you don't want to play any of these notes, if you're tired of doing this and you still don't know the song, you can actually just tap on the body of the instrument or gently thump on it. Because here's a pro tip. Not only the ukulele, but every acoustic stringed instrument is basically strings attached to a stick attached to a drum. The stick holds onto the string on both ends so it can vibrate freely in the middle. That vibration is carried over to the drum part, which makes it louder. That's how guitars work, that's how banjos work, that's how violins work, and it's how ukuleles work. So all these instruments are basically drums. Okay, I'm gonna sing the Palindrome Day song again. I'm gonna try to sing it 3 times, but I might lose track, in which case I'll sing it 4 or 5 times. And I'll play it a little differently each time, and I invite you to do the same. Remember what your options are. You can always do this scratching thing. You can play this note all the way through. You can play this note all the way through. It's a little bit spicier that way. Of course, if you know the chords, or if you know, you can play the chords. In case you're joining us for the first time, or I guess even if you aren't joining me for the first time, there's usually two of us. I'm alone here today. I always like to reiterate that one of our fundamental goals with the Ukulele Club here at the library is to offer options so anybody at any skill level can participate in making music together. Because honestly, getting better at making music, learning to make music, depends on making music. And so it's always good to have easy ways to have success at making music, especially with other people. And finding ways of making music with other people, especially now when it's harder to be in close contact with each other, is sort of extra important. The ukulele, and this is not all for beginners. We like to include beginners. We also like to include anybody who's not a beginner. The uke is a perfect instrument for beginners because once it's tuned up, it always sounds good. You don't even have to press any frets here. The open strings alone sound great. And it's quick and easy to get started playing some real songs with the ukulele, more so than some other instruments. But it's also a real musical instrument. So for non-beginners, the sky is the limit. And now's the point where I'm going to add some information in the comments for you. And I'm going to add 3 links to the comments right now with information that you can refer to later. And I hope those will be readable. Yeah, those look okay. So the first one is a link to a video of Jake Shimabukuro playing Bohemian Rhapsody on his ukulele. He autographed this one. He and his brother designed this ukulele, this particular one. It's got a slightly bigger neck than a usual soprano ukulele. One of the links is to all the Ukulele Club stuff on our library website, the Wood County District Public Library, wcdpl.org. And the last one is the link to my band, which is the Grand Royale Ukulelists of the Black Swamp. I'm wearing the uniform. It's a gigging band. People actually pay us to play ukuleles, for ukuleles. So there's a link in the comments. You can find out more about that if you want to. You can listen to Jake Shimabukuro and be astonished and inspired. He's a full-time professional ukulele player. So as I said, the sky is the limit. Okay, in a minute we're going to play some more songs, or at least parts of songs, and I want you to remember, whether you are a beginner or an intermediate or an advanced player, there's always options when you want to make music. You don't always need to know the song in advance to play along, but you do always need to listen so you can strategize about ways of playing along that will work for you, that will work for the song, and of course that will work for the other people in the room. So as always, I'm going to move through things pretty fast. We're going to be here for about half an hour altogether. And if you want more information, you can always check out the Ukulele Club link that I just posted in the comments, or you can get there via the library website at wcdpl.org anytime. So here's a couple of options. I'm going to take a note here of something to come back to in a minute. But one of your options is, remember that the ukulele, the body of the ukulele is basically a drum. So you can tap gently with your fingernails. You can thump it with your thumb gently, or with your hand. It's probably easier, there's a bigger surface on the back. It's basically a pair of bongos because there's a larger side and a smaller side. So that's always one of the options you have: scratching strings, scratching the strings, scratching the strings. Like this is always an option. If you know what notes you want to play, one option you always have is picking the strings, plucking them individually, or strumming, which essentially means just hitting the strings all at once. Some people do this with the fingernail. You can do it with the fingernail coming down and the pad of the finger coming up. You get a slightly different tone either way. I like to strum with my thumb. A ukulele, I always think, sounds a little more like a ukulele if you play it with your thumb. It's got a gentle sound that way, but if you want a stronger, brighter sound, you can get that too with fingernails or even a pick. You, of course, can, if you're strumming, you can strum different patterns. You can pick at different speeds and different patterns. And as I said, you can use different fingers to get different tones, but also you can play in different parts of the instrument. So if you strum up here on the fingerboard, you usually get a mellower sound. And if you strum down here, closer to the bridge, you can get a slightly brighter sound. A little bit louder too. So you have all these options, and most of the time when people are talking to you about playing the ukulele, especially if you're a beginner or an intermediate player, people are talking about playing chords. The word chord in this context just means different notes at the same time, essentially. And the notes and the chords on musical instruments are usually labeled with letters from A to G. Ukulele players around the world also sometimes use the letter Z or Z in the United States. It's a recurring theme. American English is a little different from English in other parts of the world. We call it the letter Z. In many other countries, it's called the letter Z. And we use it for this, where we're playing all four strings, but not playing any specific notes on those strings. So this is a C chord, this is an A chord, this is a D chord, and this is a Z chord. In some traditions, this kind of playing is called scratching or chopping or chucking. You might have heard of it. Mandolin players in bluegrass and old-time music do this a lot. So if you don't know precisely which notes you want to play, you can play something like that. To find out more about chords, I'm going to recommend, again, look at the website, at the library website, wcdpl.org/ukulele-club. We have a series of 5-minute videos, give or take, where we've covered a lot of basics, including some of the easiest chords to play on the ukulele, how to get it tuned up, and some things about playing technique. And you can always feel free to go and look at some of that information and then come back later, because this live stream will also be recorded and archived on the library website, along with some of our older live streams. I always feel ambivalent about encouraging people to go watch our old live streams, but there might be something useful in there. It might be fun. You never know. It's live. You never know what's going to happen. Here's one of the most ironic things about the ukulele. you'll often discover chords that have fancy names and sort of sophisticated jazzy sounds like this that are really easy to play on the ukulele. And on the other hand, there are chords that look simple on paper that are harder to play than the fancy ones. Here's D, for example. And here's, you see what I'm doing with my hand here? I'm kind of got 2 fingers pressing down all 4 strings up here, and then another finger over there. Here's another way to play it. Only 3 strings, but an awkward hand position for me. So that's D. It kind of hurts my hand to play too much D without rest, so be cautious. This, on the other hand, no fingers at all on the fretboard. This is either C6, that's one name for this chord. If we assume this is the note it's built on, it's a C6 chord. If we assume that it's built on this note, we can call it an A minor 7. So it's a chord with fancy names, can be used in a lot of different musical contexts, and it's incredibly easy to play on a ukulele. Let's look at this another way, and then we'll get to the songs in just a second. Most music books present these 3 chords, C, F, and G, or G7, as the most basic chords and the ones that you should start with. They're usually the chords that are like right there in chapter 1. They are very useful, and you eventually have to learn them. But they're definitely not the 3 easiest chords to play on this instrument. So once again, I'll recommend the Uke Club Shorts, our series of 5-minute videos on the library website, to give you a step-by-step introduction to some chords that are actually much easier to play, and that also sound more interesting. So they're not just for beginners, but they're also useful for more advanced players too. But we're gonna work with C, F, and G today. Speaking of more advanced players, for you who are more advanced players, I want to review another way of playing C, F, and G that Sherry introduced in a previous live stream. And remember, if you're not a more advanced player, you have options. You can do some chopping. If you know some other fingerings for C or F or G, you can try those. You can tap, you can sing, you can dance. There's always options when you're making music with people. But here's the way that Sherry showed us that's kind of cool for these 3 chords. You start with your index finger, 3rd fret of the 1st string, to play your C major chord. And then you add 2 more fingers on the next 2 strings at the 5th fret, like this. And that's an F chord, but it's kind of a fancy F chord. Because it also has a G in it. So you can call it F add 9 or F add 2, or you can argue about what to call it, but it works as a kind of F chord, and it has an extra note in it, so it sounds fancier and jazzier and more sophisticated. Then you can just slide this whole hand position up 2 frets, and you've got a G chord. Slide it back down, you've got an F chord again, and remove the 2 middle fingers, and you've got a C chord again. So some of you might see where this is going, even if you weren't with us last time. There's a million songs, especially from the early 60s, that you can play with those 3 chords in that kind of pattern. So, if you're up for it, play along with me Sherry style. Your other alternative is to play the C, F, and G chords that you already know, if you already know them, I think what you'll find is that they're kind of hard to play, especially switching back and forth between them quickly is kind of hard to do with the traditional fingerings. It's much easier to do with Sherry's method. Let's see. Thump, sing, scratch, whatever you like. And feel free to sing whatever song comes to mind with this progression. We'll just keep doing it for a few minutes. Sorry, I lost the tempo there. F, G, F, C, F, G, Louie, Louie, oh, 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 we gotta go. Yeah, 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 Louie, Louie, oh, no, oh, we gotta go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, it's actually easier to play this pattern while singing that song. That's what I just learned. I was trying to play it a simpler way just for a demonstration, but it's sort of, sometimes one particular way of playing a song gets in your head or in your fingers, and then it's sometimes even hard to simplify it if you want to simplify it for a demonstration. Hard to talk and sing at the same time as well. Good thing to practice though. Can you talk and sing? Talk and sing. No? Can you talk and play at the same time? I'm sure you can't talk and sing at the same time. Wild thing, you make my heart sing. You make everything groovy. Wild thing. Hang on, Snoopy, Snoopy, hang on. I don't really know the main melody of that. Hang on, Snoopy, Snoopy, hang on. Snoopy lives on a da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't really know the song at all, I guess. Da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Stand in the place where you live, now look north. Think about direction, wonder why you haven't before. Para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba, se necesita una poca de gracia. Una poca de gracia para mí, para ti, allá arriba, allá arriba. Moments like this, I just remember random little bits of lyrics from multiple songs. Okay, I hope if your left hand was getting tired, I hope you stopped and took a break and shook it out or switched to something different. That's the great thing. Another great thing about having options, knowing a bunch of options about what to play and how to play, is that it's not really even about, do you know how to play it this way or not? The question is, do you know how to switch it up and play it a different way if your hand gets tense, if this gets too repetitive, or if it starts to sound too boring? It's just always nice to have something else that you can do to mix it up, maintain interest, keep it interesting for yourself as a player, and keep it interesting, keep the music interesting for listeners. And playing the same song in different ways or playing different parts of the same song is one of the best ways of interacting with other people and making music together. So, as I mentioned earlier, my band is all ukuleles. And if we were all just if we were just all doing that for an hour, nobody would pay to hear that. But what we do is one of us might be playing this, one of us might be doing this, that wasn't in the right key, but you get the idea. One of us might be doing this just to emphasize the backbeat, or even 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And so if you have 4 different ukuleles playing 4 different parts, you sound like a band, you sound like an orchestra. The music is interesting, the music has layers like an onion. And it's more interesting and more fun and easier to stay engaged in. It's almost time for me to wrap up. I'm going to get back to the Palindrome Day song. I think I said I was going to play it a couple times, and then I think I forgot to do it. Maybe I didn't. Who knows? It's live. I'll find out later when I watch this video whether I forgot or not. But I will definitely wrap up the show today with the Palindrome Day song, which you now have several ways of playing along with you now have several ways of playing along. Let's say it that way. We'll continue posting other Ukulele Club stuff from time to time on the library's Facebook page. It'll all be archived on the library's website. About once a month, it's a live stream like this, and then in between, there'll be other stuff. Don't forget the links that I put in the comments. You definitely want to check out Jake Shimabukuro if you haven't heard him play already. He's incredible. And just double checking to confirm that there aren't any questions in the comments for me to respond to. I'll probably be back with Sherry next month with the next live stream, which I believe will be March 1st, because February has 28 days. So it'll be March 1st, no longer a Palindrome Day, but a lovely day nonetheless. Until then, aloha and happy Palindrome Day in international format to you today. I keep forgetting where I'm starting. It's a brand new song that I just learned today, that I just made up today. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Almost everywhere except America. Happy Palindrome Day to you. So it's C, G, G, C, C, F, and then C, G, C. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Almost everywhere except America. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Almost everywhere except America. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. I guess we're going to play it about 8 times. Everywhere except America. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Almost everywhere except America. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Almost everywhere except America. Happy Palindrome Day to you. It's a little trickier. It's a little trickier to sing along and play the chords and fit that A in. But that's sort of the magic of jazz. You find a note that's a little bit extra, but not too extra. And then you try to fit it around the melody. And sometimes it fits, sometimes it doesn't. You do what you can. One more time through the song, and then I wish you a good February. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Almost everywhere except America. Sorry. Happy Palindrome Day to you. Aloha.